Richmond, Petersburg. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Community Conversations. And here with me, kicking off Black History Month, the first Saturday of the month of February, is the Honorable History Maker, L. Douglas Wilder. Good morning.
As usual, namesake, it's good to be with you and your audience. It's always good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Now we're going to jump right in. It happened last Saturday, so for all of our listeners who didn't make it, it was a standing room only at the SunTrust building, downtown Richmond. Let's jump in and just get some excerpts from that State of the City address.
Well, one of the things that I was talking about was where we are, and I asked a question. I said, are you better off today than you were 3 years ago? And I said I have no hesitancy myself in asking the question because I know the answer. And I think that it's good when you look to see some of the reactions to it, particularly in the Richmond Times-Dispatch editorial yesterday, when they said what they had to say about the speech, and they pretty much said the lack of a major surprise rates as the biggest surprise in what I was saying, because I talked about the city. I didn't talk about me. I didn't talk about whether I was going to run again or not. And then they were very, very positive about the things that have taken place in Richmond, reducing crime, bringing businesses, making certain that economic development was the key, saving money. We have saved over $330 million. That's what we have saved. In addition to that, we have put forth monies to be able to build schools. I've advocated that we take a portion of some of that money so that we don't have to have people concerned, particularly in this time of economic downturn, about their taxes being raised. Got the best chief of police in the country, as many people know, and to the extent that we've had the vision of Harry Black and others to show us how we could have a line of credit of $150 million and, if necessary, another 150 more without raising taxes. So Richmond's on the move. You look at Broad Street, it wasn't that way some 3 years ago. You look at our clearance rate, 82% compared to the national average of 61%. And you look at the people who are cooperating, sector policing, and look at the kinds of things that we're trying to do. Look at just in minority participation. When people were starting, they had so little it was a shame. Now we're at 18.5%. A rate of minority participation. Compare that to the state level of 2%, which means everything is moving up in the city of Richmond, and there's an excitement that you could have seen it and felt it if you were there at the event last Saturday, but it was very positive, and things are going to move on.
And staying the course, and of course staying focused on city issues, and public safety and education are two major issues for you.
Three things, really. Public safety, education. In the absence of those two things, you're not going to have the third, which is economic development.
Okay.
And so people want to come to a safe city. Go to Broad Street now, downtown, even at night, people are walking it. We're going to put in rapid transit, that people will be able to go all the way from Broad Street to Short Pump. And yes, and we've envisioned it. We worked a deal out with Greater Richmond Transit, and we stopped the flooding in the Charcoal Bottom. You remember when all you had to do was have half a shower one afternoon? They started closing up all the shops downtown. That's no longer the case. When they had the flooding in Battery Park, the only thing we said, we're going to fix it. And we did fix it, $46 million, with FEMA giving the largest number of tax dollars outside of Katrina since that time to the city of Richmond. So is it fixed? Yes.
Yep, it's fixed. I was there.
Yep, you were there.
Looking at
and you heard the naysayers at that time. Well, it's flooded because you're pumping the water back up from the Charcoal so that it can flood. You're protecting those areas. And you will always have naysayers. But I can tell you the majority of the people of the city of Richmond are positive. And I've been very pleased and thankful and grateful for those kinds of support. It'll continue.
Yeah, wonderful things that are going on within our city, as we can see with the development and revitalization downtown Richmond alone. You are the executor of our city. If the report is good, thumbs up for you.
Right.
If the report is bad, all fingers are pointing at you.
Right.
Again, you are the head of our city.
That's correct.
All right. So Crime rate is down in the city. Excellence in public safety, economic development, revitalization. Very good stuff. The R Braves,
Right.
to stay or not to stay in Richmond. Did you lose that deal?
If I did, I'd like you or anyone else to tell me what it is I did not do that I should have done. And yet, you haven't seen a person to say a single thing. One thing that the public didn't know, and I asked that question the other day at the State of the City address, the diamond is owned not by the city of Richmond. It's owned by Henrico and Chesterfield. The city of Richmond can make no decision relative to that without the concurrence of the other partners. Now, everybody had agreed, the timetable was certain, the Braves had agreed. What the Richmond Braves wanted is what they got. They wanted someone to build them a stadium for nothing. That's what the people in Gwinnett, Georgia did. And they've been talking for 2 years. 2 years. And they finally got it. I don't blame the Braves, but I can tell the people who are listening to your show, we're going to have a baseball team. We're going to have quality baseball. We have a study that we put out that they had agreed to that is not going to just be a baseball team, but we're going to develop the entire area for the betterment of the city of Richmond. That's 60-plus acres. It's the largest single tract of land we have in the city that's susceptible to the kind of development we want. So the Starbuck development people are in town today, as a matter of fact, talking to us about the final report as to how they're going to recommend what we need to do, not just for that, but for the train shed down on Main Street, as well as 6th Street Marketplace, which was a disaster, both of those things, in previous administrations. I'm not criticizing them, but what we're talking about is making it work for everybody. It's amazing, though, you were talking a little earlier about NASCAR. You remember about a year ago when the NASCAR Hall of Fame was supposedly to be located here, and they decided not to come here? It wasn't the city of Richmond. It was in Henrico County. But what did the headline say? Richmond loses NASCAR. We don't have a thing there. Land doesn't belong to us. We make no decisions at all about it. And that was a moneymaker. The Braves are not a moneymaker. You have an average, they say, of about 1,500 people coming per game. I was at a game during the playoffs, and I didn't see 1,500, but I'm not criticizing that either. The question is, you pointed out, when you're at the top, you get to blame. Yet nobody blamed anyone in Henrico for losing NASCAR, which would have been a tremendous draw. And I'm not saying they should be blamed now. No one has even asked what was put up, what did you do, or what did you not do. I'm accustomed to blame. Been doing that for the better part of my life.
You're the boss.
Well, people out there are the boss too.
Yeah.
But you can be selective as to when you do that, and that's what happened in this case.
All right. So hopefully, Chris Tucker, if you're listening over on the north side of Richmond, that the mayor did answer your question, because this has been a major issue back and forth. I interviewed Mike Plant, who is the executive vice president with the R Braves,
Yes.
and on a conference call with him, he had mentioned to me that he had been in talks with the city of Richmond, some challenges to hurdle over, but it's been for about 8 years. So that was prior to the Wilder administration.
Here's another thing that I'm glad you mentioned this. 4 years ago, everybody had agreed, Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield, that they were going to remodel the diamond. And they had agreed to put up $18 million. Everybody had agreed to it. And all of a sudden, the Braves said, no, we want a new stadium. And all of a sudden, the then city manager said, yes, we'll build you a new stadium. That was on their watch. Chesterfield said, hey, we're out, and pulled out of the deal.
I remember that.
Which killed it. People forget that, though. So once it was killed, then we had to bring something together that we could get Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield to agree to. And we also invited Hanover, and they did come. And they are coming now. As a matter of fact, I don't mind telling you, we're going to be having a meeting this week with those officials. And what we're going to be doing in terms of where we go from here will be joint statements made as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, because that's the way it should be and that's the way it was. Will we have a ball team here? Yeah.
Good stuff. Richmond Mayor Doug Wilder joining me for the KISS Town Hall meeting, the Community Conversations Town Hall meeting. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come on back, and we're going to talk about minority